2010 Mercedes E350. It has a brake line leak right here. It's kind of unusual on this car because the rest of the lines actually look decent. They're kind of rusted over the rear axle, but as far as this area here, it looks like it just pretty much starts here and goes into some pretty clean section of line moving forward and then moving back into the rocker here. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of do a, just splice in a new line here. I'm just gonna use unions and make some little flares and add a little section of line. So I'll show you kind of how to do a quick brake repair that's safe. And if you're just doing a little area like this versus replacing the entire line. So this is what you want to do is, on this particular situation here, I unclipped this from the body and pulled it away a little bit. I don't want to flex the lines too much. I want to keep everything like this, but just get it far enough away from the car where I can kind of work it. You know, you just want to find a nice clean section of line. This one's really easy. It's easy for me to show you too. If I pulled away a little bit like this, I can cut it through here. It's a nice area, it's solid there. And then on the other side, probably about right in the middle here, I'll put another union. So I'm gonna use this little brake line cutter and kind of put this on there and spin it around a bunch until it cuts it. And then what I'm gonna use to repair it is some standard brake line, like this here, 3/16 with a metric flare on it, and then a little union. So I'll show you how I flare the line on the car to go on the other side of this union and what tool I use and kind of, yeah, but for now I'm just gonna cut that line in both those spots where I showed you. Now that I cut this section of line off, I can kind of use this as a template to bend up the new one. So I'm just gonna bend it and maybe leave the new section a few millimeters shorter, not much, just a little bit shorter, just to allow for the union, and make something that looks just like this with a flare. Sorry, my phone's not focused very well, but a flare like this on both ends and the fitting that fits into the union correctly. And that's it. So I'm gonna make the repair piece now. Here's a little line I've bent up. I didn't use a tubing bender or anything like that. I just used my fingers. It's gonna fit pretty well, you can see, and go back into its little clip. The bends obviously aren't quite as tight as the factory ones. I do have a tubing bender I could have used, and it would have been a little bit nicer, but it's not important. It's gonna work well. So now what you want to do is get your make sure you put your fittings on first. Most important thing. Forget those and then the whole thing changes. So make sure you have your fittings on, and then you want to take your flare tool. I use this little Capri branded one that I found on Amazon. It's actually amazing. I love this thing. It works excellent. It puts a really nice crimp on it. You pretty much just once you put your fitting on, all you do is, let me see if I can get a better angle, sorry. You take this tool and you slide it on here until it's in this little window, that little hole, till the line lines up with the line. Then you tighten those two bolts down, and then you spin this little tool into the end of it, and it gives you a nice flare. So super easy to do. You can do it on the car. It's kind of more sneaky than the traditional style one. I'll put a link in the description to this tool if anybody's looking for something like this to do on car repairs. So I'm going to tighten that up and run that little die onto this to give it a nice flare, and then I'll show you how it all goes together. Yeah, super common to just forget the fitting and then do this and then have to cut it off, and then the whole thing changes size, you know. So make sure you have a fitting on before you flare it, and yeah, I'll show you what it looks like next. All right, there's the line I put in place here. It'll work just fine. It's not, obviously it's always best to replace the whole assembly, the entire line, but sometimes you can't get it, it's not available, or you're in a pinch and you just need to do a fix in one area that looks rough, like what I just did here. So this will be fine. Leave it all apart, obviously, when you're checking. So what you want to do is bleed your brakes, have someone else in it, dry it all off real good. Or if you're just by yourself, you can just make sure everything is real clean and get in there and start the car so you have assist, and then push the brake pedal real hard. Make sure you don't have any leaks here. Double check it before you put your wheel well liner back in and everything. And yeah, I'm gonna spray some kind of protectant on here before I put the liner on anyways, like a fluid film or some product like that, just to keep it from corroding again. But yeah, that's it. So pretty easy fix. I'll show you the tool again that I used. It's actually really great. I think it's $20 or $30. I can put a link. You can put a link to this on my in the description. I've been using this for a while now, and I borrowed it from somebody else, another mechanic I used to work with, and yeah, it's excellent. So that's it. Thanks for watching.